We're live.
What's up, dude?
How's it going? It's Inauguration Day. The final minutes of Donald Trump's presidency are ticking away. I guess it's down to about 9 minutes now until he's sworn in. And in that point, Donald Trump will cease to be the president.
Yeah, it's what a day so far, right? I guess, not the kind of not anything like crazy, right? Like some people were anticipating that, there would be riots erupting all day. It doesn't seem to have borne out like that, at least not yet. In 9 minutes, the inauguration will begin. We did want to give a shout out to our patrons, though, as Gavin's reminding me before we dive too into the nuts and bolts of the day. You can also probably hear my whining dog in the background, Malcolm.
Yes, thanks so much to everyone supporting the show on Patreon. We really appreciate that support, and you can join them by clicking the link in the description below. It really does help out the channel. So thanks so much to everyone supporting and anyone tuning in for the first time. Make sure to subscribe. That also helps us out. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss upcoming live streams. And yeah, like you were saying, it doesn't seem like there's any crazy protest riot action going on the streets today. The city is, incredibly locked down, like you mentioned before we went live. The security is really heightened there. So we're probably not going to have any, crazy protest action to report on today, but we will be covering the inauguration ceremony of Joe Biden and the surrounding events. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about is now that it has finally come to the end of the Donald Trump presidency, what do you think will be the most lasting kind of takeaway? Like how, in the near future, do you think that, Donald Trump will kind of get the George Bush treatment, or where he had this absolutely abysmal approval rating? I think it's at 29% according to one poll that I saw. And now, like you just mentioned before we came on, he's been heralded by Democrats on NBC, as like a unifier and like a reminder of what it was like when we still had law and order. Do you think that after 20 years we'll see that sort of reclamation with Donald Trump, that they'll try and pretend that he was something that he absolutely was not? Or do you think that they're going to just completely go the other way and just kind of blame him for every problem that the GOP had as they try and reclaim like a Mitch McConnell style?
I think that'll have a lot to do actually with what Trump's moves over the next couple years are. A story we have pulled to talk about later in the show actually is that he might be planning on actually starting a new third party, the Patriot Party, to compete with the Republican Party. And in the event of that, if he takes that path, then absolutely not. I don't think that he'll be embraced by the media. I think he will continue to be a pariah of the establishment, of the political mainstream in Washington. But in the event that he just kind of, goes away for a little bit and, kind of reduces his harsher rhetoric, kind of calms down his base a little bit and is able to re-enter polite society, I think absolutely we'll see his image rehabilitated in, 5 to 10, maybe 10 years at the max. That's assuming he's still alive at that point. But yeah, I think it really just depends on if he continues to exert this threat to the Republican establishment, to the elite class, using his supporters and threatening to take them away from, traditional Republican politicians. So I think that'll have a lot to do with it. It will be interesting to see, however, the way he's treated post presidency by the media, and also to see if the media will be able to avert their gaze, because obviously up until this point it's been so hard for them to look away from the man, and obviously that's part of the reason he ended up president in the first place.
Well, yeah, he understood free media better than just about anybody who'd ever run for president before, right? And it was because of his reality TV experience. I think it's pretty clear, right? He understood what the American people crave because he knew what he craved when he was watching television, right? And I think if anything, obviously he's a product of late stage capitalism, but I think in a way he's also a product of the medium of cable television in like a really huge way, in a way that I think a new president. I mean, I don't know. He definitely had a lot of help on the internet too, but I just think that his whole aura, his whole understanding of the world, his whole understanding of people and relationships, it's all built off of, this very television-esque understanding of of the world, basically. So I think that I don't know. I think that you're right that it'll depend on what he does moving forward. But I don't know. I think he still has so much pull with the Republican base that it almost doesn't really matter what Mitch McConnell or I can't even think of another like big Republican that has the old traditional values that are still in office right now. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like that all the politicians with name recognition right now are the Josh Hawleys, the Donald Trumps, the Tom Cotton.
It'll be interesting to see what happens for sure. And by the way, Josh, I totally concur. I was tuning into NBC this morning just to see their coverage of the inauguration, and I agree. I was I'm in my progressive media bubble. I forget how, corporatized, how propagandistic the mainstream media is sometimes in this country. And you're absolutely right. It is almost soul crushing to watch them, froth at the mouth over George Bush and, this. Look at this unity. Look at the bipartisanship, and Joe Biden is going to heal the nation, and he's a healer. I think someone on NBC called him called Joe Biden a PhD in healing. So that was hilarious, and yeah, I totally concur that the mainstream media is just it's really unbearable to watch, honestly. Other than just for straight cringe value, but I guess we will get to some of this speech, guys. I know that a lot of you might be here just to watch the inauguration, not to hear us blather necessarily. So we can get right to that.
Zach, sorry, everybody. Water just spilled all over my entire setup, so I'm hassling to fix that up. But I don't know if you guys can still hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you. Everything good?
Yeah. I'm just trying to clean up the water that spilled everywhere.
Okay, I'm going to turn on this inaugural address so anyone listening can check it out.
Cool.
Unity. In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness, with unity.
Did you see Bill Clinton?
Things,
yeah,
he looks barred out, dude. I don't know if he's just old.
We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make healthcare secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world.
You can make America great again?
Yeah.
What? Speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days.
We want to unite with Mitch McConnell, the single greatest fucking opposition we face.
But I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle between the American ideal that we're all created equal and the harsh, ugly reality that racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart.
Exactly, Gojirazilla. He says nothing, word salad.
We're assured. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggles, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, There is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos.
I always feel like a kid at church, like watching this kind of stuff. I'm just like bored and like waiting for it to be over.
Kevin, did you ever have to go to church when you were a kid?
Well, my parents went to like the Unitarian Universalist church, so it was kind of like, you know, more
You went
like
to hippie church?
basically. But I still sat through sermons that I didn't really like understand, and that I was just, you know, I had that experience. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I had to sit through. Dude, I've been to so many different kinds of fucking church. I went to Methodist church. I've been to Nazarene church. I've been to Catholic church. Catholic church, you have to do the shit where you get up and down a lot. That's a bummer.
Yeah, my grandparents are like hardcore Catholic, so I've been to Catholic.
Been to the mass thing.
Yeah, dude, that shit goes on forever too. Like Easter mass and stuff. Joe Biden's Catholic.
God.
He knows all about that. He's like, isn't he like the second Catholic ever after JFK to be president now?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that kind of shit. I know that people who are Christians like hella get divisive about like what denomination you are, but to me, I just lump them all in. I'm like, oh yeah, the people who, you know, are religious. I'm like, all right,
dude. I know, right? It's all based on the same
look at
thing.
Bill Clinton though. Look at his eyes, dude. Look at his eyes.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, dude, he looks like he's got to be on something. There's no way.
Dude, I wonder if Hillary's pissed. She's like, this should have been me again. She should have run again. She should have run, dude. She could have taken out Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, dude, with his cognitive impairment, dude. She would have been vicious with the shit too. She would have come for his fucking ass, dude. Hillary Clinton's like, she has the killer instinct. No matter what, of all the things you can say about the woman, she has the killer instinct. She can, you know, she'll let the claws come out. She'll eviscerate you.
Well, when you're talking about the left, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, she couldn't do that to Donald Trump, which is, you know, kind of annoying.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. She's really good at doing it to people who run against her in primaries.
Yeah, exactly. But then she totally fumbled the ball when it came to actually being vicious against Trump, which, I mean, even though obviously you and I were not fans of Hillary Clinton, any competent person with coherent thoughts could, you know, take down Donald Trump. It's so easy to do. Just point to his failed businesses over and over again, you know, point to his bankruptcies, point to his multiple scandals and everything he's ever done. It's very easy to take down and dismantle the illusion that man created for himself. And she didn't even try. I mean, she occasionally would reference his failings, but she wasn't like anywhere near as full-throated and vociferous as she needed to be.
Well, just compare that to when she was going after Bernie Sanders.
I know, yeah. It's crazy. And I mean, you could say the same thing about pretty much all of the Democratic establishment, whether it's any of these, you know.
Oh, wait, here, keep an eye on it. I want to see if they show Bill again. He was in the background, but you didn't get a good look again, I bet.
I'm humbled by the faith you placed in us. To all those who did not support us, let me say this.
I don't want to hear about anything about law.
Take a measure of me and my heart.
Oh my God, here we go.
If you still disagree, so be it.
So be it.
That's democracy. That's America.
That's America.
The right to dissent peaceably within the guardrails of our republic.
He said peaceably. Is that a word?
Is it? I think so.
Oh.
Disagreement must not lead to disunion.
Disunion?
And I pledge
Oh, yes, it does. I guess it is a word. That didn't sound like a real word to me.
America.
Yeah, because there's peacefully, but then there's also peaceably. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I guess it's specifically regarding arguments. So that's
okay.
You learn something new every day. There's Bill again.
Oh yeah. Come on, Bill.
They still let you out in public? Like
Centuries ago.
I know Hillary has her like podcast now that she does. I think she like just dropped an episode with Nancy Pelosi, but I'm waiting for the Bill Clinton podcast. That's where things are really going to get fun.
Well, man, when that was about 1982, oh, boy, I tell you what now, I was down in Arkansas and I saw some shit.
Yeah, dude, fuck Bill Clinton.
Oh, man. I don't even, there's too much there that's just hurtful to talk about. Respect, honor.
Painful lesson.
I don't have a good Biden, which is why I haven't been doing it, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm waiting for him to bring up Corn Pop, personally.
Corn Pop was a bad dude. He ran a bunch of bad boys.
President we deserve, Corn Pop.
Look at him, dude. He's asleep. Did you see that? Bill Clinton was like this, dude. I swear to God, I'm not making this shit up every time.
Where is he? I keep missing him.
He's right next to Hillary and George Bush.
Right where he belongs.
This is crazy. He's like, how old is Bill Clinton? I gotta look. He's 74.
Bill?
Yeah.
Isn't Biden like 77 or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Biden is yeah, he's 78 now. He turned 78 in November.
Yeah.
Distrusting those who don't look like you.
He stumbled over that because it was hard for him to lie. Like he's so conditioned. Wait, what? Tripped over myself because it was such an obvious fucking lie.
You're gonna start talking about Nelson Mandela back in the days, crusading for civil rights. With
back when you were arrested for.
Yep.
That never happened. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got to pull up that Joe Biden is a lying dog-faced pony soldier piece up after this to just remind ourselves of all of the cringe from Joe Biden.
Yeah, dude, there's so much. That was a good piece.
Here's the thing about life.
Someone said Kamala looks like the Joker today, which is kind of true with her like purple outfit. I think she's definitely has some Joker vibes going on.
Or the Penguin. Didn't he also wear purple?
I don't know.
I don't know Batman. I'm sorry.
I think he was more of the black and white, aesthetic. But
I watched the Dark Knight movie. That was cool.
Just recently, or
no? That's my context for Batman.
Okay. I like Danny DeVito's portrayal of the Penguin in Batman Returns by Tim Burton.
Is that the one with George Clooney in it? No, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah. George Clooney wasn't until Batman and Robin by Joel Schumacher.
Oh, yeah. Guys, for anybody who doesn't know, Gavin is the literal anthology of cinema. So if you ever have like weird cinema-related questions about leftism, you're like, I want to know about the surrealism of Louis Buñuel. Gavin's got thoughts.
Yeah, cinema's had to take a backseat to politics in the last couple of years of my life, just with Bernie and starting the Vanguard. But yeah, I was really into movies at one point, and still am to some extent. When do they swear him in? I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah, it's going to be a really long and arduous time getting through. That's why Gavin and I are mostly talking over this. You can read the bad commentary the
subtitles or whatever. Yeah,
the subtitles. But the bad commentary would be us. You don't have to read that. Yeah, I guess one of the things that I did want to talk to you about, just like kind of as we go through all of this shit that I kind of meant to get into, and then I forgot to bring it up fully. But do you think Trump will start that Patriot Party that he was talking about?
Yeah, here. Do you want me to pull up the article about that?
Oh, yeah, they already swore him in. Okay.
They already swore him in? Did we miss it? Are you shitting me? Did we miss it? Someone tell me in the comments. Someone says they miss it, but we missed it, but who knows?
All right. Well, anyway, fuck that.
I'm going to keep it going over here. So
they did it at like 10:50 Central. I guess we hadn't even started streaming when we did. A social historian. He should, that thanks for keeping tabs on all that stuff 10:50 Central. That's why I guess they gave the speech after. Yeah.
We're from Kansas City, Missouri, by the way. That's where we're currently located. I guess we missed the swearing in, which is literally the only part I cared about. So let me go back a little bit in this live stream to see if we can find it. Because
if they did it at 10:50, I think that was when I was like spilling my shit everywhere.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, let me go back in this live stream from NBC or whatever and see if I can just find the actual moment.
Going back in our live stream, I was like, I don't think we're gonna have anything that we want to watch.
No. I just want to see if.
Yeah, so in the middle of me literally scrambling to not fuck up my entire laptop setup here.
I don't think they did it yet. I don't think it's happened yet. It did. Okay, someone else said, yeah, I feel that Gojira-zilla. And yeah, it got another comment already saying that it happened. So I guess that we missed the swearing in, which was literally the only part of this that I actually wanted to watch because that is a historic moment, obviously. But I missed it apparently. So fuck me. Sorry for fucking that up, guys. If anyone is here because they wanted to see that too, sorry if I ruined it for you also. But I did get to see Lady Gaga singing the national anthem before you jumped in, Zach. So that was fun and always fun to listen to. But
yeah.
you know, I guess now that debacle is over, we can move on to this story that I pulled for us to talk about. And obviously we talk about third parties a lot here in the channel. We talk about the movement for a people's party a lot and the Green Party and all that stuff. But something we don't really talk about a lot is the possibility or idea of like a right-wing third party, a conservative third party. And of course that sounds insane because the Republican Party has become so extreme, so insane, so
very
far
libertarian.
Yeah. It economically, at least, for sure. But now that Donald Trump is leaving office and has basically been abandoned by polite society, by corporate America, and by his fellow Republicans, including Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell, apparently he's floating this idea of starting a new third party, the Patriot Party. Here's some reporting on it from Business Insider. Did you hear about this or read any of these pieces, Zach?
Yeah, I heard the rumblings about it, but I didn't know how seriously to take it, right? Because I guess the thing is that the only reason I don't know how seriously to take it is I just don't know what Trump's level of follow through is going to be with literally anything after the election. But whatever he does lend his credence, what he lends his name, and sort of a fan base like power to, I think it's going to be massively impactful on the Republican Party. Because I just think that the fracturing that's going on there is the kind of we kind of say this all the time, right? In a sense, like the Republicans, they go to war with each other, like in the way that like the left, like they're interested in gaining power, right? Instead, the left needs to kind of start, ousting the Nancy Pelosi's and and standing against them as firmly as the Josh Hawleys and the Donald Trumps are standing against like the Mitch McConnell, like neoconservative kind of guys, at least in rhetoric, right? Obviously in practice, what Donald Trump did was basically whatever the fucking crony neocons wanted.
Right.
But so, I mean, it's not like either side is, strategically maneuvering this in like a super effective way. But just, it's the overall idea is that they will actually say, no, fuck you. We're going to withhold our power, sort of like, Tea Party, Freedom Caucus style, but with Trumpism. And I think that the real threat there for Republicans who are in office is the fact that it's way more popular than their stale brand of conservatism.
Yeah, it is super funny that, as it's been pointed out before, Donald Trump really did just govern as a Republican. So it's kind of funny that he's now, this is really just all based on ego and image, this whole Patriot Party Trumpism thing. It's not really based on any actual governing philosophy, at least not
that's
any
all of Trump anyway, right?
At least not that he embodied while president. Maybe, of course, someone else like a Josh Hawley that's more competent as a legislator and as someone that understands how our government works could actually get things done. So, obviously I'm not trying to downplay the, neo-fascist tendencies of the Trump administration, not at all. And also I thought it was funny here at the end of this Business Insider article, we were just talking about George Wallace on our show and discussing the parallels between him and Donald Trump. And they actually bring up here that he won 5 states while running as the nominee of the American Independent Party, which was a third party too. So that would even further the similarities between Trump and Wallace, obviously another historical racist, faux populist type right-wing figure in American politics. So definitely some interesting context there. And again, a lot of people are saying that this might be his way of exacting revenge, on the Republicans. Even obviously, if this weren't to ever successfully become an ascendant, political force, it could still severely disrupt the Republican Party because obviously Trump still has enough of his base on lock, probably 35% of the Republican Party. Maybe that's waning, who knows? But at least that amount that he can always kind of direct away from the more establishment types. You can direct them towards.
I think he has probably half the Republican Party.
Yeah,
if we're
that's
just
true.
looking at the Republican Party, I think it's more than half.
Yeah, I guess
think
I'm
it's
sorry. I meant 30% of the country at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right though. Over half of the Republican Party, and again, in a race like Marco Rubio's coming up for re-election in 2022 in Florida, if he throws his weight behind Ivanka's candidacy and is out there, doing the rallies for her and being the keynote speaker at all of her events and all that stuff, there's absolutely no reason that the Republicans are just going to swear off or abandon Trump. And it would be really interesting to see if Ivanka does run against Rubio, will she run as a Patriot Party candidate, or will she just, take the path of least resistance and run as a as a Republican? And obviously that's a conversation we have all the time on this show, just from the other side of the aisle. Is it worth the risk running as a third party when Democrat might be easier to gain power? Obviously we talked about that in the context of Nina Turner and Cristiano Oliva's race. It'll be interesting to see what strategy these far right Trumpists really take to as they continue their.
One thing that one of the things that I really like about the show Rising is that it gives good insight into kind of like the conservative politic dynamic in a way that like somebody like me who doesn't have a any kind of conservative media diet, maybe I should develop one, but I just don't have any interest in it. It does kind of give you some insight into the inner workings of how like a Republican would think, right? When you get to listen to Sagar provide his insight, and he was talking about this race between a potential race, right? Like it hasn't even been announced, but if Marco Rubio is challenged by Ivanka, then I think that sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here, but but if Ivanka challenges Marco Rubio, really, that's the only person that she had a lot of alliance with when she was in the White House. Actually, her child like tax credit thing that she pushed through, she partnered with Marco Rubio. And also, it would be really easy for Marco Rubio to come after her because she really did have a lot of Democratic leanings herself when she before her father ran for president. So it would be a tougher race for her there, I think, than maybe a lot of other places if she went to like a more Trumpist stronghold than Florida, right? I mean, people thought that Joe Biden had a pretty good chance of winning Florida. I don't think it's his strongest state.
Yeah, I don't know what district Marco Rubio actually represents, if it's a super hardcore Trump district, or if it's a more
he's a senator.
Oh, you're right. So she would be challenging.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're right. No, it would be all of Florida voting then.
Yeah.
So that would be hard, but I do think that Florida is, one of the Trumpiest states there is. And I mean, especially now that he's living there, I don't think that they would necessarily, betray him. I think that he definitely has Florida on lock. So I'm definitely optimistic about Ivanka's chances if she were to challenge Rubio for that Senate seat. Which you're right is a Senate seat, and I'll be interested to see that battle take place, because I really think that will be one of the first major battles to take place in the Republican Civil War, if it is to happen.
Also, Don Jr.'s wife might get into politics, is speculated, right?
Yeah, I think Don Jr.'s wife, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who we talked about also recently, is definitely ambitious. I think Eric and his wife are both, all of the Trumps and all of the related people, I think, are all going to try to continue this political empire. Thanks for your insight, Josh K. You're saying that Rubio is insanely popular in Florida. So
I think that it's his speedboats and fucking blatant abuse of campaign finance aside, people in Florida don't give a fuck about that, or so it seems, and I mean, why would they write this? Like you said, it kind of, that one of Trump's biggest appeals there is the do it big, like, rich thing, right? At least from what I'm gathering, that's probably a generalization, as everything that involves like broad scale political analysis would be the people. But I don't know. I think you're right, though, that's definitely one of the first races that would be a telltale sign. I just think that as if I'm a Trump person and I'm thinking about how do we strategize to make us look the best, that seems like a harder race to me, but I'm not a fucking Republican. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I did just want to go back really briefly, if anyone's watching, to see what's going on at this inauguration.
Also, thanks, David for that super sticker. We appreciate
thanks so much, David.
We, the successors of a country in a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised.
Okay, this looks like some poem being read, so I'm sure that's very beautiful and profound, but we have other stories to discuss. So yeah, the Patriot Party will certainly be an interesting wrench in the system if it actually happens. It's also very possible though that it's just a total scam. I saw someone joking, they're like, the Patriot Party is going to be like the GoFundMe account where the updates on it just get progressively fewer and fewer, far between, until it just eventually the creator just totally disappears. So that could very well be the path of this whole venture, as is pretty much everything Trump has ever done. A total scam, whether it's Trump University or any of his number of casinos. I was watching a video, like a short documentary on YouTube this morning about his Atlantic City Taj Mahal casino, and I never realized how, like, literally spent over $1 billion to get it made, and just a colossal failure, one of the biggest in the entire casino industry.
Actually writes the intro to one of his books. I can't remember. I think it's Empire of Illusion, but it might be Death of the Liberal Class. But he's literally writing it from the inside of the Taj casino, and he's talking about like the rats that are opening it, and just like how fucking disgusting it is. And this is like the embodiment of late stage capitalism. And then lo and behold, this dude becomes fucking president. Like, what a fucking, what a fucking,
yeah. By the way, going back in the chat a little bit, where was your comment? Yeah, Josh, I did see what Bernie wore to the inauguration. I thought it was adorable, and also it just made me so sad again that Bernie is not the one being sworn in today, as he should have been. I tweeted out, follow us on Twitter, by the way, if you have not, guys. But yeah, I tweeted this out. Bernie, here he is with his, trademark mittens, looking down to business again. Obviously, probably a little, irked that he's not the one being sworn in today, given the way he was treated not once but twice by the Democratic Party. He's still here to, be present for the transition of power. And obviously he will be the head of the budget committee, the chairman of the budget committee. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's at least.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously Bernie should definitely be the one being sworn in today. And it really is a bummer. And obviously just his clothes, the way he dresses. Someone said he looked like he was standing in line at the post office. Like this is his working class values are reflected so much more in everything he does, the way he dresses, the way he speaks, the way he crafts policy. It's such a stark contrast from the elites that pretty much rule the Democratic Party right now, and the increasing corporate relationship they have. Obviously Bernie was cheated 100%, and it really sucks. It makes today a lot harder to celebrate because, obviously everyone on the left, everyone wants to be super excited about the fact that, bye Trump, as I put in the title, adios motherfucker, we want to be happy about this, but obviously it is a lot more bittersweet given what did go down during the primary, and the fact that, Joe Biden is not exactly someone to get excited about, the, mass incarcerator in chief, storied legacy.
I do just want to say a couple of things though about Joe Biden while we're on the topic of like what is there to celebrate. He's basically undone all of the most. He's going to undo today almost all the most heinous elements of the Trump administration. Obviously we talked the other day about the Keystone pipeline. He's indicated that he'll end U.S. support for the Saudi-led genocide in Yemen. He's, indicated that he's looking to get back into the Iran deal, Paris Climate Accord, which obviously is woefully inadequate, but still better than nothing, I guess. So those kinds of things are solid. But I did want to ask you, kind of, we're at the crossroads where it's like, okay, is it brunch time for, the left and the Democratic Party broadly? Is it time to go to sleep for 4 years or at least 2 years until it's time to fundraise for the midterms, or I guess 1 year until it's time to fundraise for the midterm? What is it? Is there going to be any kind of activist momentum that persists under Joe Biden, or is it going to kind of fizzle out just like it did under Obama? With the new members of Squad in there, I want to be hopeful, but after the, Nancy Pelosi incident after, basically the last 2 years that we, seen very little action, very little like resistance. And, it seems like progressively less resistance since, the likes of AOC entered Congress. I'm wondering if now that, they can't even put that resistance under Donald Trump, literally one of the most hated presidents of our lifetime. And that's, incredible, because I think if you would have asked us in 2015, we both would have sworn that George Bush would have been the most hated president of our lifetime. So I don't know. I guess I'll pass the baton to you to respond because I'm rambling.
Oh, you're good. I just think that's a really interesting question. By the way, thanks so much for that super chat, Gojira-zilla. I'm also a big Goji fan myself, so cool name. We really appreciate that super chat.
Your action figure, Gavin.
Yeah, I have some dank Godzilla action figures actually. Anyway, off topic. Yeah, there's going to have to be some serious activist pressure here, guys. And especially because of the fact we're already seeing the Democrats waffle on $2,000 checks, something they promised clear as day to people in Georgia. Activists literally,
and people nationwide who were donating money to Ossoff and Warnock.
Yeah, I read a pretty heartbreaking Twitter thread from an activist, a door knocker in Georgia, who said, I literally went door to door lying to people's face, telling them that they were going to get $2,000 for, taking this vote. And now I feel like shit because the Democrats are backpedaling on this very clear promise. So, that's already a clear sign that, the Democrat or the activist left, the base, is actually going to have to hold Biden and this administration to account. Another area where Joe Biden has already waffled before he even was sworn in was his healthcare plan, the public option, which he even called at one point Biden Care on the campaign trail, already waffling on that. We'll get to some great reporting on the Daily Poster, which goes into that in a little bit. And, the fact that his healthcare plan has basically just been written by and proposed by healthcare executives from the likes of Blue Cross and the American Health Insurance Company agency, or whatever the fuck it's called. So he's basically just outsourcing all the legislation to the industries, to his biggest donors, the people that prop him up.
Which are all paid off and propped up by, big business.
And again, I've said before that, those things are, it's tough to reverse that kind of policy, because obviously he is so indebted and in bed with these industries. He's not activist pressure. It would take so much to actually reverse things like that. Where we really can see huge success is in like individual instances, like where we see the canceling of pipelines or, individual things like that we could really pressure him to, take executive action on. But obviously I'm very pessimistic about all this shit about him, the next FDR, and like
it goes from canceling student debt to we're gonna just put pause on your student debt until September, which is what he did, instead of being like, we're gonna wipe out your student debt, which is what he should have done.
And again, not to undersell the fact that, Biden is clearly different than Donald Trump, and that he's already, exerted a contrast legislatively, especially when it comes to climate, obviously canceling the Keystone XL, where Trump was just opened up the Arctic to drilling. So, there are very big differences, and we're not trying to, gloss over that fact. At the same time, this moment in history, in, American history right now, with the pandemic raging and with inequalities at an all-time high, it calls for something much bigger than just better than Trump. It calls for a contrast that is much greater, and reforms that are fundamental in nature, sweeping reforms that take on the industries which are at large in this country, the corporate America, which has such an iron fist over our politicians. And it's just unfortunate that right now we don't have a politician that's going to rise to that occasion, because in fact he is, as I've said before, if not directly perpetrating the interests of those industries, he's at very least an ally to them. So it'll be interesting to see what the activists are actually able to push him left on. Obviously, hopefully, more civil rights movements can achieve more wins along the lines of justice for Black lives, for the reallocating of resources.
LBJ, in scope policy through Joe Biden. Do you think the left is capable of that level of organization and pressure at this point? And if not, what do we need to be doing, right? Because we've you and I have been reading a lot about the Black Panthers recently, so that's fresh on the mind. We've been reading To Die for the People by Huey Newton, which I highly recommend to everybody. You can find it for free online. Huey's dead. You're not doing anything immoral by reading his work for free. As most people know, he was slain by the U.S. government, Operation COINTELPRO, for the crime of founding the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, an organization that was built on uplifting the Black communities and protecting them from the vile onslaught of the white terror organization known as the Police Department. But one of the things that they did that was fundamental was they made themselves integral to their communities by modeling a lot of their, infrastructure and around the Black church, right? So the Black church was always a focal point for Black communities, and it was a place where people could go for food, or if you needed help or you had a problem, you could go talk to somebody, they could help you figure it out. You built a community. All those sorts of things. And what they were able to do was they were able to build like 40 different, what was it? At most, it was at its peak, like 40 different union hubs. All of them had places where you could go for medical treatment for free. We talked about this the other day. They had testing for sickle cell anemia, which was ravaging the Black communities at the time. I think that if we're going to be successful moving forward, that's the model of thinking that we have to adopt. We need to be thinking thoroughly in the mode of mutual aid. Because until we can build that solidarity and that community amongst people who are so disenfranchised, and we also have to remember the fact that we need to provide spaces where we can have community, because capitalism commodifies communal spaces. It privatizes space and makes it so that, so many different people are isolated, and it forces them to be isolated. We need to allow people to have real human communal connections outside of the internet, but in person, and obviously that'll become much easier after the rollout of the vaccine. But I don't know. What's your vision for how we can, if we were to push Joe Biden, to pass something like student debt cancellation, something like a Green New Deal, something like Medicare for all? A lot of people say it's thoroughly impossible, but suspend your disbelief for a moment. If it was going to happen, what kind of a surge, what kind of pressure? A lot of people would have thought that it was impossible for LBJ to pass the Civil Rights Act. So what would be necessary? What kind of engagement and what kind of work do we need to be doing now to make sure we're sowing the seeds so that we can harvest?
First of all, thanks so much, David and Gojira Zila for the super chats. We super appreciate the support. Really, really helpful. And we appreciate your engagement as well. To your question, I think that, I think that the nation has become so desensitized to protest action in the last year or so that sometimes now we'll see, massive protests in the streets, whether it be from right wingers or left wingers on the streets that don't even get covered. That, years ago, a couple years ago, even would have been, the top news that week. I'm a little bit hesitant to say that even mass demonstrations are going to get us where we need to be. And again, this returns me to my, thesis that a general strike is really the only kind of sustained, organized action that will bring about the change that we need, whether that's, dismantling our capitalist healthcare system, for example, or bringing about the results we need on climate. We can take inspiration from Extinction Rebellion and the kind of, resistance that they've pioneered as far as standing up to industrialize, climate, the fossil fuel industry and, deforestation, all these industries that are destroying our planet. So I think we can take a lot of inspiration from that. And again, withholding our labor, I think that's really, we have to hit them where it hurts. And if we're not able to organize in some sort of way, in some way that is, actually threatening the power centers and their profit, then absolutely, I think Biden will just be able to kind of roll over it and ignore it and, outsource that anger to the extremist factions of whatever political party. There's a lot of people hurting in this country right now. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of organization, and that's something, speaking of the Black Panthers, you're just mentioning their movement. And of course, one of the first things you read in Huey Newton's, book is the 10-point plan. The Panthers had a very concise, very to the point 10-point plan. And actually, when I was going over that, looking at it, it reminded me of India when they had the largest general strike in recent human history happened. They had a very concise list of demands, and I think that's also something we need to really take inspiration from and really.
I sent a message in our private stream chat if you want to pull this article up. There's actually right now it's the first major strike in the United States of the year. Hunts Point produce market workers in the Bronx, 1,400 of them are on strike right now. So I just wanted to pull that up and shout out those workers who are doing the hard, necessary work of, sticking it to the fucking management and letting them know that the workers will not be pushed around, will not be pawns, that they deserve a living wage. The article goes on to talk about how these workers are barely getting by in New York City. They're making $30,000 to $40,000 a year, which in Bronx, New York is just not enough to live a middle class life of, taking care of your family to the degree that, people want to. And so what they're asking for is a very, simple, very justified demand. It's $1 extra an hour for their pay and 60 cents an hour towards medical expenses, so that not so much of their fucking checks are being taken by, giving their family health insurance, an absolute necessity. And in a country like this where, healthcare expenses are just astronomical and so unaffordable for working people. And obviously there's the clear need for a single payer, free at the point of service healthcare system. But until they have that, it's a very justified demand that these workers make to have their employers who are raking in funds hand over fist, as these people work through a pandemic in New York City to make sure that the people of New York can eat, one of the hardest hit places in all of the nation and all of the world. So these people were just lauded as frontline heroes, and now they're being abandoned by their management as they seek a modest raise increase and a modest increase in the funds allocated to their healthcare in a pandemic. Fucking absurd. Not the fact that they've hired scab drivers to replace the truck drivers, multiple union members. In fact, it should be noted that every single member of the union is present during the strike, and multiple members were arrested by the NYPD for attempting to block the scab trucks from essentially doing the work of the protesters. So we just wanted to give them a shout out.
We stand in solidarity with all workers striking in this country and worldwide. And another thing we can take inspiration from as a movement, as a left, that the Black Panthers really did pioneer, was that mutual aid. While they were pressuring the government to give them healthcare, they were also providing healthcare, to the people that needed it, to their communities. There were over 40 clinics around the country by the time they were declared a terrorist organization that were, like you said, providing treatment to people in need. So I think that, that's something else we can really focus on as a left, providing that mutual aid to people, because obviously while you're striking, you are giving up a lot of things. You might be giving up your healthcare for that portion of time. You might be giving up your wage, and we need to, make sure to be able to provide our, fellow comrades in the workforce and, out there that support. To get back to the Trump exit / Biden entrance a little bit, I wanted to throw this Glenn Greenwald tweet up on the screen, which I thought really summed up the situation well. He left the White House about as weak, cucked, and submissive as it's possible for a grown adult to scamper away. And then also he highlighted this tweet from Michael Tracy, which I actually thought was pretty good, where it says, pardoning Steve Bannon, who participated in a scheme to defraud Trump supporters while ignoring his own supporters in passionate appeals for Assange and Snowden pardons, was a fitting bookend to his presidency. And I just think that's so true. And, it's just, again, Trump just slapping across the face. What did he actually do for these people that literally are so passionate about him, and that he claims to, care so much about? Like, what did he actually get done for them? He never actually did what they wanted him to. They never actually, all Trump ever did was trigger the libs, and that's why his supporters love him so much.
Culture war, 100%. All he was doing was feeding them, like Krispy Kreme donuts, right? Just hot air that tasted good for a moment, but still left you hungry, left you unsatiated, right? So that's kind of what he's been doing. I did want to talk about some of these hilarious pardons a little bit. Obviously Lil Wayne got a pardon, which I didn't realize he was facing 10 years.
I did not know that either.
On a federal weapons charge. So that was crazy. He commuted the sentence of Kodak Black, who was in the middle of a 4-year sentence. I don't know if you knew that.
I did. I think I might have heard about Kodak Black, like beating someone up or maybe like killing someone or some shit.
Charge. He didn't kill anybody, but
okay. I don't know. There's I think I get it mixed up with that other dude who was like, what was his name? The dude that got killed. That also had the weird and fucked up name. It was like XXX Tentacion. Sorry. Anyway, Kodak Black is not dead, and he has been pardoned. In addition to this insidious,
he didn't get pardoned. Actually, he got his sentence.
Oh, okay, commuted. Sorry, but yeah, Steve Bannon he gets like more and more hideous in every photo. It looks like he's literally like decaying in front of our eyes.
Yeah, that's gross. But Yeah, he
And
got pardoned. A bunch of other corrupt fuckers that you wouldn't necessarily know the name of, but were involved in a lot of Trump-adjacent scandals, a lot of defrauding people, developers, venture capitalists, those sorts of guys. What was it? Rudy Giuliani was talking about charging $2 million to put pardon paperwork in front of him. He left Joe Exotic hanging, though. I read an article the other day that Joe Exotic had a limo waiting on site at the penitentiary waiting to pick him up. So that when the moment that Trump granted him his pardon, but it didn't happen.
yeah, I got an article on that too. Yeah, Joe Exotic literally called in a limo to wait for him outside of prison, anticipating a Trump pardon, and did not get one. So that's probably among the most hilarious stories of the day. And obviously, people were saying, if Joe Exotic, if Tiger King gets a pardon, but not Snowden or not Assange, then that's going to be truly outrageous.
Are you surprised at all that he didn't pardon Assange or Snowden? I had no expectation of him to. I always thought it was impossible.
I mean, I obviously held out the faint hope, but no, I was not surprised that it didn't happen. Obviously, Trump has always just been a cuck to the establishment, and he talks about all the time our great and strong military. Like, why would he actually be on the side of someone like Assange or Snowden, who actually or Chelsea Manning, who actually exposed our establishment? He's not actually a foe to the to the establishment in this country, and there's no reason he would have done that other than
only in rhetoric, at least. You know what I mean? Like, he makes them look bad, and in that case, he's
yeah, that's fair. But like, ultimately, when it comes down to it, I don't think he actually finds himself in agreement with the philosophy of someone like Julian Assange or Edward Snowden. I don't really think he gives a fuck about them. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone but himself, which is why he just pardoned all these people that basically, paid him off or did favors in order to get the pardons in the first place. Like, Lil Wayne did the photo op with him and essentially endorsed him a couple of months ago. Well, now that's, becoming obvious as to why. Like, we see what you did there, Lil Wayne. Got to do what you got to do, obviously. But yeah, definitely hilarious that Joe Exotic, clearly expected this to happen and it did not. And obviously Joe Exotic also ran for president, so that makes that even more funny. A fellow criminal. What?
Did he run for president too?
Yeah, he ran for president in I believe it was like 2008 even, or 2012.
Oh, I know, because I know he had a semi-successful governor run that they used in the footage for him and by semi-successful, I think he got like 10% or something. But yeah,
no, yeah, because he had that ad for president, and I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like he was like, "I'm a gay man that loves tigers" or something like that, and it was just like one of these like shock value things, kind of almost like borderline Vermin Supreme, just kind of like a stunt. But he's definitely interesting, and it'll be I don't know how long he's in jail for. I never actually watched the Tiger King doc, so I don't know all the details.
22 years.
22?
Yeah.
Damn. I guess hopefully he can get on Biden's good side, because that's a long ass time to be in prison.
For Carol Baskin. Sorry guys, my shit is falling the fuck apart today, and I don't know why.
Oh shit. Yeah, these microphone arms can be a little bit janky.
Yeah.
Looks like Zach's doing battle with his microphone over there.
DIY programming, everybody.
But yeah, it is annoying too that like and someone made this point too, is like Trump so clearly he wanted to be president for another term so bad, but for the last month or two of his presidency he didn't do dick. So like, why did you want to be president if you're president right now and you're not doing anything? So like, what's the point of wanting to be president again if while you're currently president there's nothing you're doing with that position, with that executive authority? And I mean, other than just, pardoning criminals and, shit like that. But,
well, it's all about the namesake. For Donald Trump, everything is about celebrity. And I think it's really important to remember that.
Oh, 100%. It's just, disappointing, I guess, that he couldn't have at least used that executive authority to do something. Like he could have done things. He could have legalized cannabis, something that the majority of even Republicans support at this point. He could have obviously pardoned Assange or Snowden and really, helped out with the First Amendment precedent in that case. There
was his own Justice Department that was going against Assange in the way that,
that's true.
Obama would. So I just think that was always going to backfire. There was the only chance I thought was after Bill Barr resigned. And I was like, okay, maybe. But like, that was like 1% in my brain.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, Trump was just so all talk, no walk, as Glenn pointed out here. Mitch wouldn't even let him declassify the JFK or UFO files. Like, come on, Trump, you couldn't even have given us something that was like, at least interesting or like something to go out with on a bang that wasn't
Space Force, Gavin. What more do you want?
Yeah, the fucking Space Force, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's like Trump now. His last real act as president was obviously inciting the insurrection, and that's what he'll go down as. And he didn't even try to repair his legacy or throw something in there. He didn't even fight for the checks to the people, which could have easily got him reelected, by the way. So just a dumbass, disgraced president. I'm looking forward to not having to, see and hear from him as often. Definitely, obviously not again that Biden is anything to be excited about, but I am very sick and tired of hearing about, looking at Donald Trump. There are certain things I'll miss about the Trump presidency, like just his unrelenting fearlessness to just meme and be a crazy product of meme culture sometimes.
Crazy product of meme culture. He just won't have the power to actively destroy the world.
What was that?
I just said I said he'll still be a product of meme culture. I don't think his online presence is going anywhere. He's just not going to have any power to destroy the world.
Exactly. And that's another thing. It's like, again, despite the fact that Biden is not anything to be excited about, we all can rest a little bit easy now knowing that Donald Trump does not have the literal nuclear codes anymore, right? Like, let's be honest here. That was a little bit freaky. The fact that someone is unstable, narcissistic, crazed, and demented as Donald Trump literally had the power for 4 years to essentially, end the entire world as we know it, destroy continents. No one person should have that power, of course. But the fact that Donald Trump, of all people, harnessed that power is something that we can't be desensitized to. And again, I keep going back to that. I feel like over the past 4 years, and even over the last year alone, with the pandemic and with this insurrection, with the rising tide of neo-fascism, there is so much we've gotten desensitized to.
100%.
And, I'm looking forward to just obviously we can't go back to brunch, and we talk about that all the time, but I think we can all agree that it's not a bad thing that Trump is on his way the fuck out.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to ask you about, now that you talk about how we've been, just so desensitized to mass tragedy, right? I mean, yesterday, passed 400,000 confirmed deaths from the COVID-19 virus in the United States. I mean, that is fucking crazy, right? And the fact that people aren't more freaked out about that goes back to, not to be the dirty commie that quotes Joseph Stalin, but the one death is a tragedy, a million's a statistic, right? So it just becomes impossible for people to grasp and fathom the amount of loss that's there. You really have to think about that. This doesn't even feel like it's over. In fact, there's the new strain of the virus that's coming over largely from the UK. And it's going to be way more not more deadly because of the virus itself, but because it's going to overwhelm hospitals again, because our vaccine rollout is so slow that nobody really even has vaccines at all yet. Let alone enough of the population to, secure herd immunity, right? So, we could be looking at 500, 600, 700,000 deaths by the time this is over. Those are astronomical numbers of loss.
Yeah, it is truly insane, the level we're getting in this country with the pandemic, and the fact that that's not really truly being addressed in a serious way, whether via economic relief or the vaccine rollout, which has so far just gone abysmally. And we will see to what degree Biden is able to restore competency in those departments, hopefully, for the sake of Americans that are, like you said, dying in unprecedented numbers. Hopefully that is handled confidently. Obviously, Biden has talked about the mask mandate, which is, a baby step in the right direction. So much more is needed. Biden did not mention the looming eviction crisis in his inauguration address. So hopefully that is, substantially addressed. The economic relief is something that cannot be understated, the seriousness of. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens in that sense. And
announced a 5-step plan. I'm not sure if you saw that, where he did indicate that he was going to invoke the Defense Production Act to at least get the roll.
Looks like we might have lost Zach, guys. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Probably had some more issues with his microphone or whatever. I will share my screen and we can watch. Oh, there you go. Hey, what's up, dude?
Yeah, it just kicked me off. That was so weird. But anyway,
that's weird. I did want to. Oh, sorry, what didn't?
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that he said he released a 5-step plan. The first step in the plan, he said, is to, quote, immediately work with states to open up vaccinations to more priority groups. He called upon states to expand eligibility to the vaccine to all frontline essential workers. And he also, to expand the availability of vaccines, his administration intends to have the Federal Emergency Management Agency set up more vaccination sites across the nation to vaccinate millions of people in places such as school gyms, sports stadiums, and community centers, and to increase vaccine supply. Biden said he would use the Defense Production Act to up the production of items related to vaccine distribution, such as syringes and protective equipment. So basically stuff that could have been day one decisions that we were all pushing Donald Trump in March and February that he didn't do, abdicated his responsibility. Yeah. But I think you're right to touch on the fact that this is where Joe Biden's going to put a lot of his initiative, right? Getting the vaccine rolled out, and not so much on bailing out the people that are fucked right now economically, and the housing situation, and credit card bills, and
because of the extremely low bar that has been set for him by Donald Trump, if he is just able to roll out the vaccine efficiently, then that will alone make him popular, will make him look good, because just, again, the massive contrast with the disorganization and incompetence that we've seen, the lack of leadership from the Trump administration. So again, it's weird, it's kind of annoying to keep having to say this, but we're kind of praising Biden here for just doing the bare minimum shit, undoing some of the worst parts of the Trump administration, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. Yay. Stuff like that, where it's like, you shouldn't really have to give credit for this stuff. But because Trump has set the bar so fucking low, it does need to be said that, these are good things. This is a good thing. So again, Biden, nothing to get excited about. However, there are some clear contrasts when it comes to things like the environment, where, his plan doesn't go far enough, but at least it's not, opening up pristine parts of our country to oil drilling, for example. So obviously we have a lot more to hold Joe Biden to account, and we'll be doing that.
Speaking of opening up pristine parts of our country, however, I did want to raise the red flag and talk about an issue that I just came across. But basically, I think we have a story from Nat Geo that we can pull up somewhere. Sacred Native American land to be traded to foreign mining giant. Now, this goes back to John McCain, actually, in one of his final legislative acts back in 2014.
It's making me enter my fucking email to continue reading this article.
Okay, here. Well, I'll just read it to everybody. Let me see here. In December of 2014, then Senator John McCain attached a rider to the 2015 National Defense Authorization Act that paved the way for 2,500 acres of land, including Oak Flat. This is Native American holy land, like spiritual land, right? To be transferred to Resolution Copper, which is a foreign for-profit mining company. In return, the government would get more than 5,000 acres of land acquired by the company elsewhere in the state of supposed equal monetary value. This is some Andrew Jackson bullshit. Okay, what is essentially happening right now is the United States is trading land that belongs to Native Americans. It's sacred Native American land. They're fucking hawking it to a foreign mining giant in exchange for land that will be kept by the United States government and not the Native American people. So this is just blatant, just disregard. This is theft of land. It's basically it's an invasion of sovereignty. This is another example of modern day imperialism, right? We have driven the native populations in this country to the absolute brink. You would think that there's no more that we could do to denigrate, to exploit, to hurt, there's what else can you do? And yet to this day in 2021, the United States continues to pillage, steal land, and just completely violate any kind of trust or not that there could ever be trust established between the United States, after the horrible, centuries of slaughter and persecution and subjugation and obvious land theft that continues. But Gavin, I'm rambling because I saw you get up.
Yeah, you're good.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's obviously disgraceful, and I agree with everything you said. And hopefully there's some kind of actual resistance to that action that we manifests in some sort of, protest, resistance along the lines of what we saw at Standing Rock, because this is, untenable, honestly. I did pull this up too because we missed it earlier. This is the moment where Biden was actually sworn in, which I missed earlier in the stream. So obviously nothing too exciting, but there was the moment. Also, I did pull this up. This was Trump this morning.
Yeah, scurrying away with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, after giving this, he had this military style exit or whatever, where they shot off some cannons or something. It honestly looked pretty lo-fi in comparison to what we saw with the actual inauguration. So definitely a little bit of a just pathetic send-off for Trump. I mean, look at this. He looks like there's like a few flags behind him, but like this is not what he probably would have set up if he was in charge. I guess it seems like this is pretty low budget compared to what he would have wanted.
It'll be interesting to see what life is like for President Donald Trump over the next couple of months. I'll be interested to see how it all goes for him.
Yeah, and then I saw earlier on TV him landing in Florida with Melania, and they looked like Melania had changed into like her summer clothes. So I mean, I would also want to be in Florida right now. I can understand that, but again, it's just such a disgraceful end to this presidency. And obviously, I'm not someone that likes to get all sentimental about the bipartisan unity and stuff, but like, come on, he wasn't even there at the inauguration, breaking the tradition of the peaceful transfer of power. Like, once again,
kind of hard to call it a peaceful transfer of power when you have the entire city of Washington D.C. on lockdown anyway.
Exactly, but again, like, I don't know, he's just such a disgrace. And
but also there hasn't been that insurgency that everybody was really worried about.
No, clearly.
Like, I think my prediction stands correct that the Capitol riot and mutiny, whatever, that was the supernova as far as the, Trump, was the election steal, whatever you want, QAnon, whatever you want to call that shit. That was the apex, I think, at least as far as the Trump term is concerned.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, part of the fact is that because Trump, has not continued to stoke this in the same sense that he was before January 6th. He's partially, obviously he's not on social media to do so anymore, but he's really has toned down his rhetoric. He acknowledged the fact that he would be an outgoing administration and there would be a transfer of power. So, that kind of rhetoric, I think, did go some ways in tamping down the activity of those potential rioters or protesters or, whatever you want to call them, instigators. And yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct that what we saw at the Capitol was probably the supernova, and that barring something totally unexpected, I doubt it'll ever reach that fever again, at least in the next, several years. We have yet to see what's in store for the future of this country. And obviously, who knows, what Donald Trump's moves will be going forward, if he'll continue to get involved in politics, if he'll try to run again, or just get behind his many kids as they pursue political careers. It'll be interesting to see what happens for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested to see if they're. I don't know if that's the right way of phrasing this. I don't know what to expect from the right wing retaliation of Joe Biden. Right. I don't know what to expect under them. I certainly hope that it doesn't escalate to, more violence, but I don't think that we can say with certainty that won't happen. What I do think it, however, is that right now the Capitol is on such high alert right now, and they've been so recently burned and embarrassed. The Capitol Police Department, the FBI, the CIA, all the people who are in charge of making sure that something like that doesn't happen, that, they've been giving all these resources and promised us that they're using them to keep us safe. When they botch it like this, it makes it so that people start paying attention to what they're doing, and what they want is to be able to operate in the shadows. So I think that for the next, time being, there's going to be a lot more eyes on this potential Trump uprising phenomenon. And especially as you see it be more vilified by even, members of the reigning Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, excoriating Trump on the Senate floor, all those kinds of things. I think that for right now, that Trumpist insurgency of people, they're going to lay low.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I mean, despite their intentions, they really had no other option but to lay low today because, as we've talked about, the DC is basically a complete police state today. It's like an occupied area of a foreign country or something right now, with the amount of military and National Guard or whatever on the streets, deployed, ready for any potential instigative insurrection related activities. So yeah, despite their fury, there was no chance of there being in any sort of a dramatic display of protesting today in DC. There's simply too many police, which is interesting for sure. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens going forward with that faction of the Republican Party. And I think that, again, as I've said, I think it just has a lot to do with what Trump himself does. It's hard to predict where those supporters will go because it's hard to predict what Trump will do. Will he start the Patriot Party like we talked about, or will he just kind of lay low and try to, make money off, his image?
Basically, that's his whole MO. I can't imagine that Trump's interest lies anywhere other than grifting. That's what got him into politics in the first place, right? I mean, it was all about boosting his profile. So I can't imagine that he's, gonna do anything that's like meaningful or constructive. If anything, somebody else will do all the boots on the ground work, and he'll lend his, name to it, like he's done everything else his whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you didn't have anything else to get into,
yeah, I think we're going live again later tonight. We just wanted to hop on and cover the inauguration. So thanks for everybody that tuned in. But we'll be back on later tonight to chat a little bit more.
Yeah, everyone make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell if you have not already. As Zac just referenced, we will be going live again in less than 5 hours, I think, or maybe around 5:30 our time with a special guest. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Really excited to have that live conversation. Like the video if you haven't. Make sure to subscribe, like I said, and hit up that Patreon link in the description if you want to support the show and become a member of our Patreon community.
Yeah, thanks for everybody